and
Okay.
this is my second attempt to chat with someone live, face to face, mano a mano, hand to hand. And on that screen there, I'm pointing to you, is Patrick Facemire, Facemire, which you would think would be Italian for Fracimire, but it isn't. And Patrick is an artist. He draws drawings, paints paintings, and performs performances. And today he's inspired to do his rendition of Hokusai's elephant as being examined by 6 or 7 blind men. Let's see, monks, right? They're monks.
Yeah, I believe they're Brahmin actually. In
Blind,
India.
blind men measuring an elephant is what it's called,
Yeah.
and it's a fable illustrated by Hokusai, who where the blind men each think they, as they examine the elephant, are examining a conical hard thing or a rope-like thing or a snake-like thing, depending on what part of the animal they're talking about. So as Patrick draws, I will be doodling on my half of the drawing. So now, Patrick, you can talk a little bit about yourself if you'd like for the audience.
Uh, okay. I mean,
Or whatever you want to say.
I'm an artist, I suppose, if that's what you want to call it. I'm from West Virginia, and soon I will be going to be getting my master's degree in fine arts from the University of Buffalo in New York.
Oh,
And what I'm going to be doing for a little bit is just sort of messing around with ideas,
okay.
trying not to get too tight into a full illustration, because once you start doing that, you start stiffening up a lot.
Well, we're going to be
And
loose.
I want to see.
We're going to be loose to start with.
Yeah.
I'll do the same thing. I see that you're using the back side of the pen. You're turning the pen upside down to get it, which is what I'm doing, to get the much finer line. With the pen I'm using a Eversharp Skyline pen, and I just started messing around, but I don't have any plan in my head, unlike you who have a plan in your head. So I'm going to start over. I'm already giving up on this one. Are you, Patrick, are you planning on drawing an elephant?
Yes, I'm sort of sketching out the blocks of it right now.
So he will draw an elephant, and I will do my version of some sort of animal. It might be an elephant. It might be something else. And what I'm seeing, unfortunately, I'm not really seeing the Patrick's drawing in sharp focus. But this is we're just testing this system out. So if it doesn't turn out to be a masterpiece and get an Emmy award, we're not worried about it. So just keep drawing, Patrick.
Well, if it does become a masterpiece and it gets an Emmy award, I think that'd be the first time you get an Emmy award for a drawing. So
I meant for
that would be quite interesting.
I meant for the film version. The drawing the drawing is not going to be out of focus. It's the filming of you that might be out of focus.
Oh, right.
So
well, if this helps a little bit, you can see.
Yeah, I do see a little bit. So
what I've been sort of doing with lines almost.
Oh, now as you continue to draw, Patrick, just draw, and I'll talk about how we initially sort of met. Is Patrick is a crosshatcher, and I am a hatcher, and so we're gonna. And I thought while Patrick draws, I will draw both in cross-hatching and hatching. I was going to do two animals. Maybe I'll make a two-headed elephant. That's what I'll do. That's my plan. I'm going to draw the front view of an elephant, and you're drawing a side view of the elephant, which is it's sort of very similar to Elbrick Durr's drawing of the rhinoceros, where he drew based on what he had heard a rhinoceros looks like. So he's off by a number of factors, but it's generally a rhinoceros. And it's a very famous print that he did. I'm sure you know it.
Oh yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
He has like the general idea right,
Yeah.
but then when he starts getting into the details, that's where he starts messing up.
Yeah, and the details he's getting into are details that, from what I understand, he was drawing what was described, and though the description of, the rhinoceros as having plated rivets, riveted plates, and
Yes.
upholstery and stuff like that, it did not actually happen. Whatever it was. So, anyway, I will draw my two. I'm drawing the two heads here of my elephant, my two-headed elephant, and I'm drawing out of my head. I'm not looking at a picture of an elephant, of course, but
Nor am I. In honor of the great tradition of getting animals wrong,
okay.
sort of like Hokusai did a little bit and Albrecht Dürer did a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to really try and mess up this elephant here.
Oh, good. We like that. Oh well, this is way screwed up already, but that's okay. This is my elephant. Not only is two-headed, but it also ran headlong into a plate glass window. So its heads are sort of
dear.
Heads and tusks are sort of smushed. I guess I can make this be more of a profile. That's what I'll do. I'll try to fix it that way. Both Patrick and I are fans of the notorious Peter Draws, and he is a guy who waxes poetic as he draws, as he makes his drawings, as he pronounces it, DRA hyphen WINGS, drawings. And he's great fun, and I like his artwork a lot, and I love his take on life and everything else he does online, and so that's how Patrick got to know me through that connection. Boy, this is just awful. My drawing is awful, and I don't know whether mine is fixable.
Well,
But
just remember what Bob Ross says. You're not making mistakes. You're making happy accidents.
I'm making happy accidents. Bob Ross is, for everyone knows probably who he is, but when he was alive and was doing his job in real time, which was probably before you were born, a long time ago, I was so offended at his show being on public television. I thought, if that hack can show people how to paint, I should be able to show people how to cook by having them tune in to my station when my show was on and watch me put things in a microwave and TV dinners and things like that, because he wasn't really, it just didn't work for me. Now, other people have different views of him. Maybe you share that, Patrick, but or maybe you have a different view of him, but he's a little too hippie-ish for me, and um, yes, there are mistakes. They are in fact mistakes. They're not just happy accidents. There are in fact mistakes can in fact happen. And my drawing that I'm doing right now is proof that's happening. So, do you like what part of Bob Ross do you like, Patrick?
Well, I don't know that there's a part in particular that I like about Bob Ross. I
Okay.
can't say that I like his paintings.
Okay.
Because they're not, they're competent, but they're not particularly interesting.
They're I find them as incompetent as they are uninteresting. His magic method of making mountains and tree limbs and snow and reflections on water and happy skies and happy clouds, all of that is he's teaching people how to make vague, barely recognizable cartoons of these things. Drawing to understand reflections in a lake, you have to understand that you have to have angles of incidence and reflection and refraction, and you can't show the top of a mountain at this part of the lake. It wouldn't work. The horizon and perspective, all sorts of things get in the way. So he sort of teaches, or he shows that you can make what you think is correct. I don't know. I'm not describing myself very well. So if you could show your drawing close up for a minute just to see where you are. Look, I can tell that that's an elephant.
Hopefully so.
There's
a bit of a shadow coming in there right at the moment, but hopefully
okay.
Everybody can see it.
No, it's beautiful. And what kind of pen are you using?
I am using it's called a Platinum Preppy right here. It's just I got it off of Jet Pens. It's just a cheap little $5 pen really from Japan.
Okay.
But when you use the back of it, the lines are just so thin, and you can get almost a grayscale. And I likened it to you before as sort of the closest thing I've ever gotten to an etching needle.
I see. Yeah. I made a video earlier this morning about a pen I have that is almost like using a pencil. And it's the one I'm using right now, and there is a front and a back side, which has part of that grayishness going on. But even when you're writing with it completely on the front side, its fineness and its degree of flexibility is just very, very surprising to me. How different it is from other pens I have. And so it's neat seeing how you're doing. You're holding the pen also very vertically, it looks like. Is that how you normally hold it? Or is that just...
I hardly ever pay any attention to how I'm holding the pen.
Okay.
As I've said before, in terms of what I know about fountain pens, and in terms of what I know about proper pen technique, it's not so much a matter of what I know. It's just a matter of what I figured out has worked so far for me. So if I'm holding the pen in a really weird way, it's just because I started doing it and nothing ever happened to stop me.
Well, there are ways that I see people holding pens that are weird to me, and partly that's due to the fact that they're trying to show me what they're doing on camera, and they're holding the camera at the same time that they're doing this, and it's very, very awkward. It might be that they're sitting across from me in real life at a pen show, and they're bending over almost upside down to get down to the table where I am to draw, and it's unnatural. But to me, if I were to hold the pen vertically, like you're holding it right now, and I wanted to get, if I had a flexible nib pen and I pressed down to get a thicker line, I wouldn't be able to do it because you're digging right into the paper. So for me, I hold the pen sort of 45 degrees,
like
45 degrees up off the paper, from it laying down flat on the paper and lifting it up. So, but sometimes holding the pen vertically, as you're doing, might be for a particular reason. So I was just wondering if that was it. They also have a new pen now that has a Fude nib on it, Fude or something, I don't know. And it's this weirdly shaped pen nib that, depending on the angle, more iridium is hitting the paper. And it actually is made up of, it's like 3 pen nibs that are glued on top of each other. And there's a way where you can have 2 tines only touching the paper, or 4 tines, or 6 tines, or something like that. And they're all differently shaped, so you can turn it upside down, and it sort of gives you 6 different pens in one, depending on the angle that you're holding.
Bizarre.
It's very bizarre, and when I watch people using it, it's like they're in a sports car, and they're shifting gears because they push the gear level this way, and so you really have to draw. The thickness isn't based on pressure; it's the angle that the pen on the page as it greets the page. I would think it would be very difficult to do drawing that way. Maybe it's okay for doing lettering. Because once you shift gears and are holding it vertically, you hold it vertically presumably for the entire word or for the entire letter, and then you go back to this different way for doing the small letters or something. But I just find it very, very difficult. So now let's see what you're drawing again. Now you've finished part of the head, and now you're going. What is the dark area there?
Yeah, I've started adding in the little people right through there.
I see. Okay, those are the people. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So I haven't added any people.
And let me know at any time if I set this down and it starts becoming.
Well, right now the pen is in the middle of the camera thing, and I can see almost the entire page you're working on. So the lower right hand part I don't see, which I don't need to see because your hand is covering it anyway.
Yeah.
So
right.
Again, this is what I'm trying to do with you as guinea pig, is to try to figure out how best to make this work for us the next time we do it, or for the next person, and how they're showing me how they're working. So what is the thing? You've used a phone now to. What is your phone suspended on? How is it?
I actually managed to bum a tripod off of my sister.
Oh, good. Good.
Who took the time and the expense to buy a tripod and a little adapter that you can use for your phone.
I see.
So.
I see.
Grats to her.
Oh, good. Well.
Publicly.
We will put her in the comments of this. The drawing I'm doing, which you thankfully cannot see because it is just a horrendous thing. I'm having fun doing it, but it's not. Someone would see this as an elephant, but because of my comical cross-hatching I'm doing here and there, it looks like a cartoon elephant that's been in a fight. You know how sometimes old cartoons, show sort of tic-tac-toe hatching as bruises and dirt and stuff. So, yeah. So this poor animal looks like it got in a fight and also was run over by a bunch of 18-wheeler trucks because there's all these weird things. But I'm just having fun now filling them in. So I'm not drawing an elephant at all, but you are, and you're still. So let's have you. In fact, you have gone further than drawing just in. You're now filling in the details. You're finishing elements of the drawing. It looks like.
Yeah, I tend to work pretty haphazardly.
No,
I'm all over the place.
yeah, I'm the same way, but you're still using the back side of the pen. You're not committing to the thicker nib routine, are you?
No, it's not at all, really. In fact, I very rarely use the thicker end unless I want that really strong line right there. It's sort of like the difference between, I suppose, if we're going to stick with the etching analogy, the difference between doing a dry point etching and then actually doing the etching in acid bath.
Or an engraving.
Or an engraving, yeah. Whereas, like, one, you're just getting a slight burr on the surface that's going to create this gray halftone that's really pleasing to me. Yeah. But whereas if you did an engraving, that line's there and it's solid, and that's what you get.
Yeah, and there's no grayscale. There's no gray area. It's all black.
Yeah.
Well, what I'd like to do sometime before too long happens is I might send you for your enjoyment, and you can send it back when you're done enjoying it. I may send you a very fine nibbed but slightly flexible gold nib pen, probably from the 1940s or 50s. Schaefer made a number of them. It might work really, really well for you, where you can turn them upside down and get a finer line. But I'd like to see what you would do using the
flexibility,
the full flex of the fat side, we'll call it, the correct side, and yet have it be very delicately fine when you're not pressing down. One of the differences that I see between hatching and cross hatching is hatching seems to take more advantage of the flexible line that a pen can make, where cross hatching tends to be less. The cross hatching tends to be more standardized, I guess is the word that I would use. Now I haven't really studied that, but that's what I believe is the case. And if I look at a number of things that have been cross hatched or hatched, I would probably see that as happening. My cross hatching though right now, I'm not using my cross hatching to actually show modeling. My elephant is as flat as elephants that have been run over by a bunch of 16-wheelers can be. I'm not. Where you're hatching and cross hatching is actually showing depth, which is very nice. Mine is not. Mine is not showing that. But I'm going to put it aside. Well, I'm going to draw one more elephant, and I will draw an elephant. I'm just going to, again, I'm just drawing an elephant by my remembering what elephants might look like. And I'm going to try to show, that's not what an elephant looks like. I'm going to try to show what it might look like if I were to cross hatch half of it. So there's the half. Now if I was going to be cross hatching, we'll start with, there's got 4 legs. In our family's lake home, we have an elephant foot that was turned into an umbrella stand. An actual elephant foot. Talk about
an actual elephant foot.
An actual elephant foot. That was a popular thing to do in one point, was to kill an elephant and turn its tusks into a
and
piano.
just take its foot. Okay.
And I mean, you wouldn't just
Oh,
take
yeah.
the foot. You would, use all of the elephant, presumably. I would hope.
Presumably.
And so I'm going to draw. I have drawn an actual elephant foot, and it's somewhere on my Instagram page or Facebook page or something. So it is viewable. And now that I'm remembering what it looks like, I'm now drawing its toenails to be more correct. So this one I'm cross hatching. Do you hold the pen at that placement normally? You've got a
Oh,
good,
normally
or do you hold it? You clutch it closer to the.
at a sort of angle here.
Well, your fingers are well behind, further up the shaft than normal.
Rather than being
Yeah, rather than being like that. And is that normal, or are you doing that just for my benefit, or for the benefit
That's
of the camera?
For me, actually.
Okay, well that's really, really interesting, because most people hold it way down, at the very bottom, and they almost hold it, and they hold it with their every muscle in their fingers pressing it.
I've got a really tight grip on this thing right now.
Well, you have it you have it tight, but you're not obscuring the view. Where some people hold it so tightly, way down by the nib, that I don't even see how they can see what they're doing, and they bend their head over so their head is almost on the desk, so they can see what lines they're making. And I say, well, hold the pen further back. And they try to do it, and they don't know how. So, but you're holding it much further back than I am, actually, and or I am right now. God, this is an awful drawing that I'm doing. I'm going to go back to hatching.
I feel like it's not as awful as you seem to think it is.
No, it's pretty awful.
In my experience, that's how it tends to be with a lot of art. The person making it tends to think, "Oh man, this is so awful," and then the people seeing it, they just do not see that.
Well, they would see that very easily here, and mainly because I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm sort of watching you and trying to think about what I'm saying and what questions I'm asking and listening to what you're answering, but. I'm very happy to see the way you're holding the pen, except for the angle part of it. When I send you a pen that has a flexible nib, you're going to have to hold it less vertically. To be able to take advantage of it. And but the fact that you're not gripping the pen right down at its nib is very nice to see. How long have you been using?
Well, that's something I learned. Oh. It's something I learned fairly early on.
Okay, good.
I think when I was first starting out learning to draw, I got that old book. I'm sure you know it. It's Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know it.
And it's sort of full of that pop psychology kind of nonsense. And it's like with any other drawing book, the best thing it does is it encourages you to draw.
Yeah.
But one of the things that it advised was to hold the pencil far away from the end, because it claimed that if you are holding it down at the end, like this, then you're signaling to your brain or whatever it had in there that right now we're going to begin writing.
I see.
Whereas if you back like this, it's like it's supposed to be.
It's tricking you, thinking you're doing something other than writing. So I can understand that. That Miss Edwards was her name, right? Edwards. I don't know her first name, but I think that makes perfect sense. And I've tried to come up with ways to get people to also do that, whether they're buying a pen to write with or to do calligraphy with or to draw with. I try to figure out a way to have them break a habit that they got into by using a ballpoint pen or by using a pen
Yeah.
for doing writing. And any way that we can, any trick that we have to trick your brain into not falling into an old trap is good. So her method, if that was why she said to do it, it's good for other reasons as well.
Yeah.
First of all, it allows you to see what you're doing much easier because you don't have that big old hand in your way. And it doesn't actually confuse or make your hand less controlling. I mean, if you think about a painter painting with a paintbrush, never holds the paintbrush down by the bristles. He's always
No.
he's holding it at the handle, which is a foot away from the bristles. So, and he still has the same degree of control. But it is. I mean, her idea about having it not tricking your brain rather into not
Yeah.
thinking you're writing is perfectly good. I have that book, but I guess I didn't remember that part of it. So good.
Yeah. Once you haven't read it in a while, I mean, but one of the things I note that once you do start holding the pen or the pencil or what have you, more towards the end, you start opening up yourself to a greater variety of different movements.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if you're just holding it here, you only have that.
You
You're moving entirely from the wrist.
Yeah.
But
Well,
here,
yeah. And in writing, doing calligraphy, whole arm movement is what they if I was run over by the same truck that ran over my poor elephant and my hand was crushed, if I could say, okay, well, I want you to, I know I can't use my hand anymore, but I want you to arrange the fingers so that I can shove a pen in it. And I should be able to do almost everything I do now without ever having to move my fingers. If my arm and my elbow and my shoulder muscles and maybe my wrist muscles work, that I don't need my fingers to do the work. So by holding it that far back, your finger motion, when you move your fingers, the pen actually is moving many inches. Whereas if you hold it way down and you move it's only moving a half an inch. So not only is your movement more free, I think, but the pen can fly all over the page, and the mark that it makes can be anywhere almost on the page. Whereas if you're holding it really tight, you're constricted. So, well, I see a man now. I didn't see him until I'm looking at it now for the first time up close. So
I've just strengthened the lines enough, and I'm really screwing up the anatomy here. But
well, I was wondering what I was seeing, but that's okay. There it looks. Is that a butt that I see there?
oh
So,
yes,
so it's like a cheruby butt, but it looks like not only does he has an extra bone in his upper thigh.
oh absolutely.
Yeah. So his upper leg has an extra bone in it. So, but now we have talked, believe it or not, for 34 minutes and 16 seconds. So we're going to end this in the next few minutes, just because I don't want my film might stop on me, and I hate when that happens, because then I lose everything. So, but I think what we've done is good. I've enjoyed this, and I hope people will enjoy watching both of us draw, but also the fact that this is an unscripted dialogue, but where our brains are going in all sorts of different directions. I think that's kind of fun. And I miss that when I only have only so many voices in my own head. It's nice having one that comes from the outside.
Yes, yes.
So
Helps you remember that the world exists sometimes.
the world does exist at some point elsewhere in the world. So I want you, before we turn off, though, somewhere you have actually cross-etched, I presume. So
Yeah, right.
I haven't seen that many. I can see where you're doing it now, but when I'm watching you draw, I've sort of seen only hatching going on. So can you hold up the crosshatch part close to the camera, and I'll see what it looks like up close?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just let me know when I'm
Okay,
close
now
enough.
you have to move to you have to push out that way. There we keep going in that direction. There we go. Now it's a little bit out of focus, but I can see that there is cross-hatching going on there. Good. So, and you have, I like your little Fu Manchu tusks going on there.
Yes. Gotta have some weird stuff going on.
Well, you have weird stuff going on there. Well, I thank you so much for doing this, and I hope that we can do this again, and we'll try to figure out a way to make the camera be more in focus, because and I don't know how we do that. Maybe we just move it much closer to your drawing to begin with, and if I only see a quarter of the drawing and we're working on that very close up, I think that might be fine. There we go. Yeah, I can see the he has big ears too, this naked cherub thing going on. Cool. Well, thank you so much. You can put it back down on the table. And send me a image of this when you're done in an email, if you could, or post it on Instagram or however you want to do it. And I will do the same with my elephants. And I'll upload this. And do you think you have any objections to it?
Oh, no.
Okay, then
all.
I think we haven't said anything that we are embarrassed by, so I think I will post this then. So but I do have to run off to lunch now with a neighbor, so I will catch you later, and goodbye.
All right.
To the audience at home. You want to say goodbye to the audience at home?
Yes, goodbye, audience at home.
Okay, bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.